Hey guys, it's Chris. From a family who fell to their doom inside of a rioting volcano, to the unfortunate adventurers who got a little too close to the edge of fire-belching mountains, here are 10 people who fell into volcanoes. Spoiler alert, some of them actually survived. Number 10. Family falls into volcano. Volcanoes can be extremely dangerous and scary places, and there are thousands of these steep mountains of boiling lava all over the world, many of them open to the public for tourism. And unfortunately, many of the visitors to these volcanoes don't take their power seriously. Just look at the family of 3 who fell into a volcano near Naples, Italy, and died. It all happened when a young boy, only 11 years old, crossed a safety barrier and fell into a hole at the Volcano Crater. The boy's mother and father, both in their 40s, tried to save the child, and they also died in the process. It's only natural that the parents would attempt to save their child, but unfortunately, they left behind their other son, a 7-year-old boy. According to the report from The Independent, it was unclear at the time if the family was immediately overcome by gases or boiled within a river of molten lava. Emergency crews did rush to the scene, but unfortunately, they were not able to help. Once in a pool of lava, there really isn't much that can save you. As for the volcanic crater that the family fell into, it's a hugely popular destination for both local Italians and tourists from all around the world. The crater is inside the Flagria Fields, which itself is a massive network of ancient volcanic craters. It's boiling hot just inches below the hardened surfaces of the field. Even though the Volcano crater hasn't erupted since 1198, it is still super dangerous. Number 9. First person to fall into Mount St. Helens. Is it possible to fall into a volcano and survive? In April of 2008, a man named John Slemp became the first person ever to fall into the crater at Mount St. Helens. As an experienced snowmobiler, John Slemp was out having the time of his life. He took his snowmobile up to the rim of the crater with his son and a family friend, and then they all climbed on their bellies to peek over the dangerous overhanging shelf of snow at the very top of the mountain, to get a clearer view directly into the crater. Unfortunately, the ground gave way and John fell directly into the volcano. He fell about 150 feet before landing on a snowbank, which was an absolute miracle. But according to ABC News, when John stood up and dusted himself off and moved to climb back up the crater, the snowbank crumbled beneath him and he tumbled another 1,300 feet into the crater, creating an avalanche of debris and snow. Luckily for him, there wasn't anything dangerous inside the crater. It wasn't like there was an opening at the bottom leading to a giant cavern of lava. The sheriff's office was called, a rescue team coordinated how to get the man out, and a helicopter soon came to the rescue. John was very lucky that he'd been wearing a helmet and a heavy suit, and that he hadn't banged anything important off any hard rocks during the fall. After 2.5 hours of being stuck, John was airlifted from the crater, perfectly healthy, if not a little shaken. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, welcome! Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this one. Number 8. GoPro Volcano Dive. It's one thing to accidentally fall into a volcano, and it's something altogether different when you volunteer to dive into one. Yet that's exactly what George Kourounis did back in 2019 at the Marum Crater, located inside an active volcano in the South Pacific. George is a documentary filmmaker, and he decided it would be a good idea to dive into the crater with a GoPro and a selfie stick. George described standing at the cusp of the volcano as looking through a window to hell. Using the GoPro and a few other camera systems, George descended 1,200 feet into the volcano. There was acid rain so powerful and so acidic that it could have been leaking from a dead battery. There was horrible weather, intense heat from the bubbling lava, and just getting into the crater involved an intense vertical descent down a loose face of jagged rock. But despite this, George got down so incredibly close to the pit of lava that it splashed onto his silver heat-proof suit and burned a hole in his clothing as well as one of his cameras. And even though it was such a horrifying experience and George could have been swallowed by the lava at any second, he claims that the adrenaline kept him completely calm, even as he stared directly into the glowing pit of fire. This is probably the closest that anyone on Earth has come to staring into the sun at a close range. But what do you think? Is this the kind of adventure you would try for yourself? Number 7. Vacation Gone Wrong. The island of Bali in Indonesia is one of the most popular resort islands in the world. It's insanely popular with Europeans and Australians as a place to hang out, drink some beers, and enjoy the beautiful weather. It's also one of the most volatile places on Earth, as Indonesia is located within the Ring of Fire. Basically, Indonesia is filled with volcanoes constantly threatening to erupt, but even volcanoes that are not erupting can be extremely dangerous. When a Swedish tourist decided to visit an active volcano during his trip to Bali, he signed his own death warrant. And this is how it happened. The young man and two of his friends woke up in the earliest hours of the day and decided to take a hike along the rim of Mount Batur. This is an active volcano, and the rim of the crater is located 5,633 feet above sea level. While strolling around the rim, the Swedish tourist lost his footing and fell inside. He plummeted 500 feet directly into the volcano's mouth and died immediately upon impact. Rescuers were able to evacuate the body. Imagine how mortified his two friends must have been when they witnessed their friend fall into a volcano. Talk about some PTSD. As for Mount Batur, it has erupted at least 26 times since 1840, according to NBC News. Its latest eruption was in 2000, but it regularly lets off large hisses of steam. Number 6. Death in the Congo. Moving across the whole world to the Democratic Republic of Congo, we see yet another tourist who tragically died falling into another boiling volcano. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a much more obscure tourist destination than the island resort of Bali. And here's how this death happened. Cecilia Suyan climbed over the rim of a fiery crater to take a selfie. Yeah, that's right, this death can be attributed to the selfie madness that has come over our world. Cecilia had been climbing the Nyiragongo volcano at the border of Rwanda and the Congo when she made her deadly mistake. She stepped out of the safety zone, tried to take a photo, but accidentally slipped and fell into the mouth of the beast. She ended up falling about 300 feet before coming to a stop at the edge of a massive lake of lava. Unfortunately, Cecilia ended up staying stuck at the bottom of the volcano. Rescue efforts were called off almost immediately, even though the woman initially showed signs of still being alive. Witnesses could see her moving inside the volcano, but she was unable to get rescued due to poor visibility and danger to the rescue team. She ended up dying at the bottom of the volcano, despite a team of 20 peacekeepers and professional volcanologists working to retrieve her body. Number 5. Body-shaming fall of death. We're gonna simmer down for our next story. Rather than falling into a volcano, Carissa Miller fell into a frozen lake while ice fishing with her best friend at Beacon Cove Marina in Michigan. She apparently slipped, banged her knee on the dock, and then plummeted into the icy waters. This is definitely a better situation than falling into a volcano, but it can still prove to be deadly. But here's where the story gets a little controversial. The sheriff's office, for whatever reason, decided to film Carissa being rescued and then post the video on their Facebook account. Apparently, the sheriff's office wanted to warn people about the dangers of ice fishing, but instead, people body-shamed Carissa and called her a whole bunch of nasty names. In the video of the rescue, Carissa is seen being pulled out of the frigid water in tights and a sports bra, and this led people to being mean on the internet and calling her names. And while this is a real shame on some of the internet society or trolls, at least Carissa survived the horrifying incident and wasn't cooked alive in a volcano. Number 4. New Zealand volcano disaster. So now moving back to volcanoes, slipping into a volcano is definitely a tragic event, but most of these incidents happen the same way. Somebody trips, somebody's not paying attention, somebody thinks they can cross the safety line and live to tell the tale. And then somebody falls into a giant hole filled with sizzling lava. But what you don't expect is to be killed by a volcano when you're nowhere near the top of it. Yet that's exactly what happened at the White Island incident in New Zealand, when at least 22 people died and 47 were injured after the Wakari volcano unexpectedly erupted. This horrifying incident went down in 2019, when the most active volcano in all of New Zealand randomly exploded and destroyed the lives of all the tourists who'd been visiting the island at the time. The tragedy happened early in the afternoon on December 9th, when a massive gush of ash, toxic gas, and huge boulders were blown somewhere around 12,000 feet into the sky. Despite dramatic efforts from rescue crews to save lives, it took 2 weeks just to find all the victims of the random eruption. What's really crazy is that nobody saw it coming. I mean, as the most active volcano in the country, there is some expectation that it will erupt at some point, but this incident is proof that humans really have no idea how to predict the exact moment when any volcano will erupt, causing massive death and destruction. Number 3. Flying over a volcano. Imagine flying over a volcano while wearing a wingsuit. If you can't, that's probably because it's absolutely preposterous. What if something went wrong, or your wingsuit didn't do what it was supposed to do and you literally fell out of the clouds and directly into a bubbling pit of fire in the heart of a volcano? That's a risk most people aren't willing to take, including me. And yet a wingsuit enthusiast named Roberta Mancino jumped from a helicopter at 15,000 feet in the air and then glided through a plume of ash and smoke to get an awesome aerial view of the Villarrica volcano in Chile. This extreme adventure had been a childhood dream of Roberta's, and one that she was finally able to complete in 2016. She literally jumped out of a helicopter and then glided over the lip of the volcano, staring straight into its lava lake. How cool is that? Nothing ended up going wrong with Roberta's flight over the volcano, and she touched down with a smile on her face. What a happy end to this story. Number 2. Dead in the Kilauea crater. Hawaii itself is a volcano. All the Hawaiian Islands are made from the leftovers of volcanic eruptions. Because of this, it should be absolutely no surprise that sometimes people tumble into the very volcanoes that they live on. One of the most recent deaths came from the Kilauea crater, when a 38-year-old man's corpse was discovered sitting at the bottom early on a Sunday morning. The Hawaii Tribune-Herald reported that the man who fell into the crater did so alone, and considering his body wasn't found until early in the morning, he'd likely been visiting the volcano at night when he fell in. That raises a whole bunch of strange questions. I mean, who goes to a volcano at night? In any case, it was unclear at the time of discovery why he fell into the volcano, but it's safe to say he died immediately upon impact. I guess this is just one of those unfortunate things that'll happen from time to time when you go for a nightly stroll up the side of a volcano. Number 1. Volcano survivor. So not everyone who falls into a volcano dies. In 2007, a man fell into an active lava flow and he pulled himself back out of it. But how is that possible? Well, he fell into Oldoño Lengai, which is one of the most bizarre volcanoes in the world. You see, Tanzania has exceptionally cold lava. The lava is so cold that it doesn't even turn red. Instead, the lava is consistently black. It only reaches a temperature of around 950 degrees Fahrenheit, making it half as hot as most other volcanoes. It's so cool that while a man was giving a tour on the volcano to a group of foreigners, he fell into the lava and then climbed out as if he had simply fallen into a big puddle of goo. Of course, he still had severe burns on one arm and both legs and needed to spend a lot of time in the hospital, but at least he didn't die. If it had been any other volcano, he would have been engulfed like Gollum when he fell into the fires of Mount Doom. Which of these volcanoes have you visited? Let me know in the comments, and thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and come back soon for another awesome video.